Hello and welcome to your Tuesday episode of Contested. We're going to start it off discussing the new meta that has hit ranked, as well as some surprising results from the past weekend.
Yeah, most noticeably those results being the Fusion and, of course, the Titans games.
I'm Jane, this is Avast, and welcome to Contested. As I said, welcome to your Tuesday episode of Contested. We didn't really have a full Thursday episode last week, but we do hope you enjoyed the special, or the super special.
It was full in other ways.
It was
full of laughter and love.
And scarring nightmare fuel.
Of mystery.
It wasn't streamed live, though, so if you don't know what we're talking about, well, let's just say that Avast fulfilled his side of the wager.
I did.
And wore the rat suit. So if you're looking forward to that, proof is on the Envytv YouTube channel. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's only like 5 minutes long, but it's not the quantity of the episode that matters. It's really the quality, and that was probably our highest quality episode we've ever put out.
I would say we put a lot. Honestly, for something that came out to be 5 minutes, it's kind of ridiculous how much time you really have to put into it to make something that's 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's why it gave me a new appreciation for movies and things like that, where they probably spend months and years. And I mean, Boyhood took 12 years to make. So just think about that one.
Boyhood did take 12 years. It almost took us 12 years to make the skit. Not quite, but pretty close.
We were off by a factor of about 12 years. So
Well, regardless, welcome. We are here, Dallas, Texas, the Frontier Communications Studio. And, well, it's your Tuesday episode, and that means that I have a favor 60-second recap for you.
I'm very excited.
I didn't open it before I actually said that I was going to do that. Did I? Fantastic. Look at that. Nailed it. Welcome to your favor 60-second recap. A week of surprises and upsets awaited us this past weekend as the second last week of the regular season was underway. The London Spitfire had probably the roughest weekend in Overwatch League history as they got 3-0'd by not only the Shanghai Dragons, but the Seoul Dynasty twice, once on Friday and once on Sunday. This makes it the two-time. That makes it the fifth straight shutout for the Brits, despite high hopes that this economical roster might actually have some teeth. On the other side of the ocean, the Atlanta Reign had a strong showing against the mighty A-tier Paris Eternal, which was rather surprising, yet promising showing. But the Reign made sure not to keep their fans holding their breath for some improvement anytime soon and dropped the ball hard against the Vancouver Titans in a 3-1 loss, a team that had just earlier that weekend been swept by the struggling Dallas Fuel. The Valiant won a close 5-match series against the Florida Mayhem, and finally, the Paris Eternal got revenge. Or sorry, that's the wrong team. It's the Philadelphia Fusion.
Yeah, Paris Eternal did not get revenge, really.
No, the Philadelphia Fusion did. I wrote it down wrong, but got revenge for the Countdown Cup and swept the San Francisco Shock. And then it wasn't, it's not a playoff game. It's not nearly as important, but it is the first time that the Shock have been swept since March of 2019. Yes. So more on that later in the show.
That was a very crazy performance, and also very nice favorite 60-second recap. I always look forward to that because what I do, here's my routine. When the 60-second recap happens, I'll be like this. I'm just like staring into the wall, and I'm mind blank, head empty, no thoughts. Mm-hmm. Occasionally something like it's like when you're playing. It's like when you have that's the only minute of respite that you get during the day. Yeah, it's just like occasionally stimuli will reach my ears, and I'll just be like.
2 times.
See, like then my brain
just words just spill out. No critical filter.
Just like an overflowing tub.
Yeah,
the water's
it's like
coming
a fugue state, a trance.
So that's what I like about
that.
I'm
told that my voice is very hypnotic.
I can disassociate and just sit there and look at the paint. The paint's already dry.
Well, I need you to come back to reality now.
See, this is gonna be a good one. We left a lot of room for activities and for talking today.
I don't know why we did that.
So let's start with our first topic, which is after the 60-second recap, which is Reign and Titans in this weekend matches. Besides London Spitfire just constantly doing the Dormammu, I've come to bargain with Seoul Dynasty and getting dominated every time this weekend, which is a whole other affair.
Yeah, poor Spitfire.
Not a good time. But I love regular season games. Regular season makeup games.
Only one weekend left. Only 1 weekend left of regular seasons before you have been put out of your misery.
It do be hidden different. when I play London Spitfire Seoul Dynasty for like the 4th time in a weekend. But Titans Reign. I have to say, I couldn't imagine a universe where I would be able to like Reign look even worse than before, even more mediocre. And then they played Titans and they lost 3-1. And I have to say that is legendary. That is a legendary performance by the Reign because it is mind-blowing the fact that, once again, the Titans roster is held together by Elmer's glue, like staples and string, and they've been put in last minute after the last roster was jettisoned from the airlock. And now we have Atlanta Reign, which is just crazy money behind it. They got chefs, they have houses, they have all sorts of superstars, and they're just falling over repeatedly. And the mental anguish upon them is like knowing
the mental anguish.
Every time they lose, I see Edison and they're so upset. And I'm like, I am upset too, Edison. I'm upset too. It doesn't make any sense like how this roster can be because the players are too good. They're too good for this performance.
Individually, yeah, we have. You know, you could probably apply that to a few of the rosters that we've seen this year.
But it's exceptionally bad for the Reign this particular time.
Yeah.
This particular time, like it just doesn't make sense. Like the players are so talented on that roster. And like losing to Titans that are on the research, okay, and there's no Genji, so they don't have to play Genji anymore, stuff like that. And Shockwave did have a really good performance.
KSA, fantastic performance.
Treadlock, tank line looking really good.
Notice you didn't mention Dalton.
I didn't mention Dalton, but I mean, to be fair, like Dalton has actually been. I think Dalton it's not really a slight on Dalton. It's just more those players shown particularly during the match.
You might not slight Dalton, but I was making a joke, and that probably worth the slight here and there. Like
on Genji, yeah, but like I think Dalton's actually a pretty talented player in like hit scan and tracer metas. It just hasn't been. They just haven't really found the slot for him just yet, and they try to force him on Genji at times. And also, they stopped playing that god-forsaken Lucio Moira combo all the time. Like, just please stop. Just stop playing that comp, and it worked a lot better for them. But it's just mind-blowing that Atlanta are now. Erster is a silly hero specialist, and they are now a Bastion team, and that is Atlanta Reign.
And this was crazy to me because this defeat to the Vancouver Titans, 3-1 defeat, came not days after they played the Paris Eternal and took Paris Eternal to map 5, which Paris Eternal we were counting up as like the third A-tier team along with San Francisco Shock and the Philadelphia Fusion. And I missed it because I was playing, pinball. Hastro put pinball.
Oh, yeah, I saw those. He was having a conversation with me about that. Then he put them in, I guess.
About pinball?
Not about pinball specifically, just about getting arcade machines.
Well, there's now a feud going around in the office about who can get the high score on the pinball machine. But anyway, I was playing the pinball machine, and they played Bastion. And the day before on the Dallas Fuel Coast stream, I was like, man, when's the last time we actually saw Bastion? And then like the one game I don't watch, Bastion comes out. But that game, like just the Paris Fuel, wow, great episode today. The Paris Eternal and the Atlanta Reign, like that game was something magical. That game was just something else. And they looked so much better. And then I don't know, Shockwave just came out and just utterly bodied Atlanta, and
it was good. I mean, and realistically, the tank line for Titans looked really good. So like, this is not a slight on Titans, like calling them bad. It's more of like, it's impressive their performance.
Yeah.
But it's just disappointing in Reign's performance. And also the slightly separate trajectories where we said Atlanta Reign and Gladiators were just two sides of the same coin of just, they were the versions of each other in the East and the West. But now the East has gone very East Coast. And there's a classic, it's called the East Coast Special, as they say.
Yep.
And Atlanta Reign is plummeting swiftly towards that. And it's just, but also, we do have to caveat this with these games, these catch-up games are on a meta that is not going to be the postseason patch.
No,
this meta is entirely irrelevant. In fact, I would almost argue that these results in general are irrelevant.
I mean, they are regular season games.
They are regular season games, but it's also on a meta that's not, for the third year in a row, the meta that's not going to be the postseason. And going into the grand finals.
We call that one the Overwatch special.
We do. The Overwatch League special there.
Compete for an entire year on one meta, grand finals on a different one.
But I'm just not a fan of their roster utilization currently. It's just so weird that they're constantly Saucy also this weekend
it is interesting that they're playing so much Saucy.
A new metric of Overwatch ults. Yeah, Overwatch League
didn't
ults.
even get.
No, he did get the tire.
But it was in overtime. It wasn't in regular time.
And it got no kills.
Yeah, and it got destroyed like immediately.
Yeah,
it's Junkrat.
Yeah, far easier.
Junkrat.
So, and that's never a good sign.
No.
It's never a good sign when you have to develop a new unit of measurements from your ult building during your match.
I don't really know.
What else to say to that?
It's the Saucy tire. So, and Saucy's a very talented rookie.
He is.
He's a player who should be doing better than he is, but you could probably say that about pretty much every single member of the Atlanta Reign.
I can. And then they added Iris, who there's this whole pronunciation thing going on there where apparently Iris didn't know that it was like a lowercase, that his name included like an L versus an I or something. Like, I don't know. Like, pretty much it was a very like, and then we get into pronunciations, and then we get locked into this whole thing. It's about like KSA. Everyone's like, oh, it's Kasa. I'm like, is it Kasa?
I still don't know.
See, here's the thing. You just pick a name and you run with it until someone with authority tells you otherwise. And so far, the translators are saying it's Iris, right? But But ZP's been saying like LR15. and the Overwatch League broadcast like LR15 here is like runs like a Mega Man like coming down like so
SP9 Arkle.
So there's some, but he was there to replace Dogman, and it has not really been looking like that incredible of a replacement either, because people constantly touted that Dogman was the weak link for this squad, which I agreed with at points, but also I feel like Dogman had a lot of good things about him as a player that is necessary for a team, and so bringing in Iris doesn't seem to have fixed any of those issues so far, and in fact, performing worse. But I know that Iris is also on high ping. Not everyone can be fielder. That's perfectly adjusted.
No, not everybody can be fielder. That is the truth.
So I think the moral story here is that I need to see Rain figure out something in the postseason.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't figure out anything, I feel like it's just... And there's a lot of reasons for that. So, you can look at coaching, you can look at the individual players and their synergy within the roster. But at the end of the day, if you have so much talent and it's not working, like, no matter of the exact faults, it's still a collective failure.
And there's been a lot of discussion recently about like the Dallas Fuel and their culture problems. You saw Tickety and Fuel both on streams and in other places, like on their Twitter, to kind of talk about it. It did seem more cultural as well. And when you talk about like the Atlanta Reign, when they had Defran and they have Baby Bay and Dogman and these like really loud, very dominant voices, having Baby Bay depart and now having Dogman replace, you could very much like the culture itself, unless they have some sort of new leader of that type coming up. It just seems like they took the really loud, really strong voices out, and maybe it's a matter of like crisis of identity inside the team.
Could be. I mean, it's very likely. And then when a team's in a slump, then the culture generally tends to get more negative as well.
For sure,
because how it works.
It's a death spiral of culture.
And Rain has been known in the past, historically last season, though obviously it was just like there's been some rumors of cultural issues at points. So that's very likely a potential possibility, but it's more of just, okay, we have all these
likely
symptoms.
A potential possibility.
Yeah, I threw in a lot of maybes in that to just say,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Listen, sometimes when my brainwaves hit your face, it's like opening a hot oven and it just blasts you. There's just so much intelligence radiating.
Yeah, you just got to store it up during those 60-second recaps, right?
When I'm staring at the wall, I'm bottling it up. It's like when you're pumping a water gun. And you're just getting ready to... I am having a lot of it. I'm just analogy after analogy today. I'm telling you, the green tea, it's
just
affecting...
Like a fire hose. How much green tea did you drink today?
The green tea is affecting my performance. My mental performance. Just want to see how much of a god
we have a note here. Yeah? The new Titans have now won more games than Boston.
Yeah, oh my God, we had to talk about that. Yes. Go on.
I'll just read it for you.
Yes, read it.
So, chat. The new Titans have now won more games than Boston has the entire 2020 season. For more thoughts on this issue, Avast, take it away.
Oh my God!
I love it when you get so mad that your hair gets messed up.
Can you believe it? We were doing our pre-pro. Mike and I here, okay? Mike and Ike, myself, Ike, and him being Mike.
Yeah.
We were doing the pre-pro and discussing this, and I told Mike, I was like, you know that the new Titans roster has won more games than Boston has all season with the same roster. And I was blown away just looking at that statistic. I was like, my Lord. Like, I don't even, do you have thoughts? Do you wish to give me thoughts on this?
Can't even hold all these L's?
Give me some thoughts here.
Boston bad, Vancouver Titans improving, Shockwave OP, Huck Mastermind. I don't know. What do you want from me?
I would like to see some brainwaves firing over there.
I'm sorry, you've got all of them today.
It's just, I just can't believe it. I honestly can't believe like what an unmitigated disaster it is. And it's another roster where I don't believe Boston is even close to Atlanta Reign level, like the talent on the roster. But there's clearly
talent there.
There is some talent there. And also on top of that, it clearly shouldn't be so bad that a cobbled together roster like this should now have more wins than them after they were assembled mid-season from scraps of contenders teams. Not even the best contenders teams.
Let me check something. Chat, I've used this counter argument for Boston, I think, a dozen times throughout this season. Does anybody know what my counter argument to Boston's performance is going to be?
Go on.
Chat, somebody's going to know.
I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is?
I don't.
Do you ever listen to any of the words that come out of my mouth?
I do listen to what you say, but right now, like I said, overflowing tub. The water's just spilling out.
Overflowing tub? I've made the argument multiple times that Boston doesn't even care about wins at this point. I think that they've got their investment. They're part of the league, trying to spend as little money as possible.
But surely the people that are directly a part, because it's one thing if you're the ownership group, right? Ownership group, sure. If your goal is like you got your investment, you're hanging out, you're selling players left and right after increasing their value, you're just doing house flippers with the players, then okay. But if you're like middle management, like on the GM side, the coaching side, things like that, like if you walk away each time and the size of the dumpster fire is only increased until it's like the pillars of creation reaching out into space from Earth, then no one's going to be sympathetic to you then. No one's going to be like, you did good work. Real good work there on the Boston Uprising, making a roster that has single-digit wins in 3 years or something. Like, it's...
That would just make it the greatest, once the league has grown and it's become the next big thing and it's larger than the NFL, then Boston will start spending money and make a team. See, it's all big brain.
I see. The dead man switch of Overwatch League.
The dead man switch. But I think at this point, at least to me, the most likely reason or justification for this is that Boston doesn't actually care about winning.
But we know the players do.
Sucks to be them.
But we know the players do at least. Like, this can't just be like, I just mind.
I mean, I want a pony, and yet I am still ponyless. Like, they want wins.
Well, I would say the ponies are far more achievable than Boston getting the wins.
You think having a pony is more achievable than Boston winning? Oh, we are in Texas, I suppose.
Yeah. You go lasso one right
Well,
over
I know
there.
what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah, you go lasso one. You could go, make sure to. It's gonna have a very wild heart. So you're gonna have to tame it.
But do you think that? So you're like, even if the 6 players want to win, if Boston kind of doesn't support them at all, like maybe they make, Florida. I mean, they drove themselves to be.
I'm gonna have to ask here. So from an organizational standpoint, considering that I know they have a translator and a house manager, I know they have a coaching staff, I know they have a GM, I know they're getting paid per the rules of the league, and I know they have a house. What, from an organizational standpoint, what else do you think should we have? Not to be, because I understand you need increased organizational support to be like a top tier. Like, you need crazy facilities, you want a lot of extra staff, you want to be getting the best players, you want to be pumping a lot of resources, but to just not have 2 to 3 wins in the Overwatch League, less wins than a newly cobbled together roster. Surely that is enough organizational support at the bare minimum to be competitive, because then for me, that goes away from the top org level to the middle management org level of like who is directly managing the roster, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. So, like, other than the house manager and the translator who aren't going to be contributing to actually competitiveness, you have Huck and Mineral.
I would argue a good translator and a house manager who actually do directly contribute to that, because especially for mixed rosters, a lot of the issues associated with them are just the fact that players sometimes have trouble communicating. So I actually would argue a good translator is important. So I actually think that is one of the key part of success that Boston have.
At least we do have the absolute lowest bar possible, where at least they can talk to each other.
Yeah, well, that is the lowest. That's what I'm saying. They've achieved the lowest bar, so they should be able to at least hit the lowest bar.
So we can contribute those 2 wins to the translator.
But they're below the bar. That's the problem.
They're still below the bar. All right. But, I mean, like, at this point, would you have not taken actions, like more actions trying to change up the roster, change up the coaching staff, trying to communicate with your fans, telling them like what you're planning to do?
Well, the thing is that Boston fans don't even. I am convinced that Boston fans don't even know what. I don't think they know what's happening. Like, I will go on to a Boston Uprising post, and it's like another 3-0, really tragic today. We nearly had him, and all the Boston fans are like, oh, you tried your best. Yes, you guys did the best you could. And they're just getting stomped into the dirt. And I'm like, are they like?
You know what? Good on them.
I mean,
good on them. At least they're having fun.
They're really supportive, and that's like.
They're happier than some teams' fans, even when those guys have wins.
It's unreal. It's like they have all. I don't know what's It's like
makes me want to be a Boston fan.
They are super non-toxic, which is nice. You don't want toxic fan bases, but there comes a point.
I mean, maybe you just gotten to the point where it was so bad that like anybody with sanity abandoned the team, and the only people left are crazy or Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I feel like it's closer to like, it's like where you're too accommodating, and they're just walking all over you. Like, I'm almost to a point where Boston Uprising, they could just not field the roster. Be like, guys, we're just forfeiting the season. Be like, tried your best.
Tried your best. I was running through that in my head. I was like, Do I know what would happen if a team was just like, what happens if somebody's just like, just gonna DQ ourselves or like just not play? I'm sure there's a clause somewhere it's like have to field a roster. I know that other leagues, not the Overwatch League, has a rule where it's like, and there's more hybrid leagues where it's like there's either relegation systems, or if you're an owner of the league and your team doesn't perform well enough, like to a certain standard, then you get fined even more. But as far as I'm aware, and we're talking about like legal confidential agreements.
And we are legal experts here.
We are. And like if I did know, I probably would be like, I don't know. But like legitimately, I don't know if those things are in the league. But if there's no kind of like incentives or structures for Boston to field a good team, and it's economical for them to just be like, oh no, we suck. If the future's uncertain, COVID, like everything, I assume that some organization like that, owned by a large enough conglomerate that's been successful at business, isn't just completely pants on head. But I just like to think that there's logic in the world somewhere.
There has to be. There has to be. I know us humans seek meaning.
Yeah.
And sometimes where there's just random chaos, but there has to be some sort of order within the Boston Uprising here because it's just so mind-blowing.
I always just try and assume the best about teams and players and orgs. Boston makes it hard.
They make it
but
very,
I haven't reached my limit yet. I can still sim for the Boston Uprising. Watch me.
So my real call here is that Boston Uprising fans just have some standards.
No, please don't.
Have some standards, okay?
I think you are the pinnacle of what all fandoms should aspire to be.
No.
Yes.
I disagree.
I disagree with your disagreement.
We are.
Don't make me unplug your mic again.
You're better than this.
No, you're not. You are.
You're just negging them. You're negging the Boston Uprising fan base.
You know what? If they could be happy striving for map wins, let alone match wins, like just let people be happy.
I don't think they are happy. I think they're burying.
I think they're happy.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if there's any more things to be talked about. Just please fix this roster. Just fix this team. I have nothing else to say. Like, there are some good players there. They shouldn't be this bad. Sure, they could be the worst team in the league. Okay, fair, but they shouldn't be this bad. Like,
Boston isn't even on a runner show. It's amazing. Anyway.
Well, that's because it was more of just for...
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about... That was more of a tangential thing alongside the Titans facts, so...
No segue required. Ranked meta has already shifted. Next weekend is the last weekend of this patch before we go into the grand finals, and we have the new patch that has been designed for a fantastical new not double shield meta.
Yeah. And there has been echoes of discontent from the ranked ladder. Now, ranked ladder, luckily though, and I also did just cast a tournament, which had the new live patch. It was like the feed fest for the Valiant. And, the meta was interesting. And also what I'm hearing now is that as it's gone a little bit more, apparently at the competitive level, this patch is pretty interesting and fun and varied. Like, it's changed up a lot of how we're going to be viewed. It's like, sure, Genji's going to be gone for the most part, but you can still somewhat viable at points. But Dive, Winston, Zarya, Hammond, just even Winston Hammond at points, like tanks. Like, there's a lot of options here, a lot more now that the shield tanks have been nerfed a bit. But even some Hog Zarya, but I don't think that's actually going to be that meta because
you don't think we're finally going to a double off tank meta?
I was interested to see if it would be, but pretty good teams are just going to... Hog is just... The problem with Hog is that he's just a giant target, and he's just a big ult charge. Like, he's just one giant ult battery. Mm-hmm. And like, even if you can do one more consistent one shots now, and he has more survivability at points, like, he's just too easy to get rid of, like with anti-nades, with sleeps.
That's what the Zarya and the D.Va are for.
Yeah,
don't you know how to play Overwatch?
The thing is, if you have to use Zarya and D.Va for like your Hog every time, like what is the rest of your team doing? Like, are you playing dive characters with what tanks to dive? Are you playing poke with what tanks to sustain and set you up? You're playing Hog and Zarya, like, so at the end of the day, there's no real synergies there for the most part.
And it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen double off tank. It has been played a couple times. Even in the Overwatch League, we saw it was Hog D.Va back then. I don't think we've ever seen Hog Zarya played in a professional match, but Hog D.Va was played So
Yeah, and Hog Diva makes a little bit more sense in the fact that like that was back when Diva was a lot stronger.
And it was used primarily as any sort of like, you know, when the opponent was playing dive, that's when it was played.
Yeah.
But as soon as they had any shield at all, not double shield, just like one shield, it was like, just turn around back to spawn and swap it up.
And Zarya Hog suffers the same issue.
Yep.
Especially now that they've also had like a buffed Reaper too, which just shreds them if they were to play like just a brawl comp. So I don't think Hog is ever truly viable. Hog is only currently viable in Overwatch League if Orisa is strong enough to like always combo with him. Otherwise, Hog is just always going to be useless in my eyes, except for maybe a couple distinct points on maps, because he just has no survivability. He just has no survivability, and he has no mobility. Like,
and even then, we already saw like the phasing out of the Orisa and the Hog in favor of Orisa Diva.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, the Orisa Hog was the initial iteration, and then people realized that they could just make that useless if they just ate the halt from Orisa and then just still did the same amount of shield break as Hog did, but with Diva. So, and then you have, of course, the rest of Diva's kit and not being a gigantic ult battery. So,
you have to have faith in Hog Avast. No, I don't. I don't have any faith in Hog. Like, I really don't. The meta, as what we've been seeing so far, is what it's looking like, is that the meta continually gets pushed forward, especially after these tank nerfs, towards your tanks just need to survive. You have just one option. It's like that Tropical Thunder quote where it's just like survive. Like that's
survive.
That's tanks right now, because they're just so much damage, and they've nerfed the tanks that are the most resilient, which were overpoweringly resilient at times, and Roadhog just can't do it because he's got stubby legs. He doesn't run very fast. He can't climb, and he has no shields. So like, why would I ever play Roadhog? And he has and it's just no that hero.
No,
just don't play that hero.
Now I'm surprised that the words meta inertia haven't come out of your mouth yet. But
I think the thing about meta inertia here is that we are still seeing some teams. I saw some teams at the top contenders level play some double shield still.
Yep.
I don't think it's entirely gone. I just think it's no longer a must pick. I think Winston Zarya and Hammond Zarya and even some Winston Diva at points is still going to be pretty viable. And Ryan, with the maps where Ryans are good, or the Sigma Ball. Like, you know, there's a lot more combinations, but I don't think double shield tank is required.
And you don't think that that's just kind of like what people are playing? I mean, everything gets thrown into chaos. And, you know, everyone's on Twitter is like, you know, I regret everything. Give me back double shields or sort of thing.
No, DPS players are so happy.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be happy until everybody else just starts queuing up for DPS and they have to wait an hour.
Well, see, that's why Hog Zarya is meta in ranked, because the thing is, no one in ranked wants to play real tanks that actually require like some help.
Real tanks.
They're just gonna be like, I just want to play fat DPS, and I just want to like run around and not have to rely on because the thing is that your team's not gonna help you, because currently, it seems at the top level of tank play, you really need a lot of coordination again to make sure your tanks are surviving and getting value. But in ranked Hog Zarya, you don't need any coordination because you are just fat DPS running around. So and that's sort of where we're at in terms of, but that's always the ranked ladder is going to be divergent from pro play, and it just is what it is. So I don't really know a way to fix that without making the tanks really strong again or just bringing back the damage. But even then, if you bring back the damage, like players are just going to be like, I want to play Hog Zarya continuously. Do I have a solution to that? No.
Nope.
I don't have a solution to that at all. And you know what else I don't have a solution for?
What don't you have a solution for?
The wheel being right.
The wheel being right?
The wheel. Not the wheel of Chin.
Not the wheel of Chin, because the wheel of Chin lied to me.
Yeah, it did.
I believed in it.
That wheel was wrong.
It was wrong. Stupid wheel.
Oh, yeah. The wheel's still back there. I forgot we can yell at the wheel.
It's just barely off screen.
Yeah, just a little bit. But Fusion 3-0'd the Shock.
Yes.
And what was a crazy performance. And what was that last time they had never taken a map before? I thought it was stage 4 of season 1 or whatever.
No, it's March of 2019.
Was it 2019? Okay.
Yeah, it was like stage 1, week 4. I think.
Stage 1, week 4. That's what it was. Stage 1, week 4.
Yep.
Of 2019. So that's impressive. First of all, just on its
Yeah, and that was a 4-0 too.
4-0.
Yeah. Because that was back when we had the best of 7, right?
And you have to admit, what a crazy run from the Shock. So this is unrelated, but like just not to always ensure, even if you lose, to have a map still to go that long without ever being shut out entirely. That is seriously impressive for their first time. And now it happens again almost like a year later to just probably the most stacked iteration of Fusion ever.
And, you know, and like we saw, there was I mean, Carpe sassed the hell out of them on Twitter.
Yeah, they talked a lot of smack for winning a regular
team
season
that just
game
lost the countdown.
And on top of that, this meta is not even going to be the meta for playoffs. So it's like,
no.
They were just like, yes.
Congratulations, you finally won a game. It's not a finals. You can't win those ones. But Yeah, because Philly, just the second place Kings right now.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, and like Philly was good enough to have won the Countdown Cup. You know, it's like Rascal did a crazy good performance out of the 4 games that they won. Rascal played all 4 of them, and even then, like it was 4-2, right? In
grand finals, yes.
It was grand finals, so 4-2, but like a lot of those were really close, and it could have very easily gone the way of the Philadelphia Fusion in that one. But I mean, even then, for Philly to come back angry and be like, prove myself, smash, 3-0 sort of thing. So
it was good. It was a really good performance.
It was very good performance.
But I don't really put too much stock into this loss for the Shock myself.
No? Why not?
Just because it
just because
doesn't matter.
It's the Shock. And
it doesn't matter.
They haven't proved you wrong so far.
It's regular season, check. Meta different from the playoffs, check. Shock just won the latest tournament.
This sounds a lot like Monte Cristo's sandbagging comments about the New York.
No, this isn't about sandbagging. I think they legitimately they lost. I think they legitimately got outplayed by Fusion. Yeah. I just don't really care because it doesn't matter.
They probably don't either.
Instance.
You know,
like, and if anything, it's just gonna. A striker literally posted on Twitter, "Is like, thank you for giving my passion back." After that loss.
Oh, I missed that one, but that's a sweet tweet.
So I do think that I don't think there's really anything bad about that loss in terms of if you're a Shock fan. So I know there's a bunch of bandwagoners hovering like, oh God, a Shock loss. I need to
do I need to get on the Fusion bandwagon?
Quick to Fusion, like
let's go. Yeah,
but I don't think there's anything to necessarily worry about at all, in my view.
Yeah, it's regular season.
But it was impressive stuff.
I mean, both of these teams have very close to a 90% win percentage, which is
There's a little bit of controversy too. Andy Miller was complaining over the
bonus wins.
The wins and things like that.
I don't think it really matters.
It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the only seed that actually matters is your seed coming out of the regional tournament because then it depends if you dodge Shanghai or not.
Yes. And the Philadelphia Fusion and the San Francisco Shock should be good enough teams to be getting into those.
Yeah. It's not really concerned for them that much, but it's more of like, and I was of the opinion, I think if you have more wins, then probably you should get a higher seed. But everyone's like, but the win percentage, and then so I was like, at the higher level, it was pretty much who lost the least. Yeah, pretty much. So at the end of the day, no one's going to be really happy. You have to make a call. The league just has to make a call and just be like, this is how it's going to work. And
one fan base is going to be angry regardless of what
no matter what happens.
So just pick the less popular one. That's how science works.
That is exactly. I think I don't. I'd have to double check on that one exactly. But I am looking forward still to see how Shock, if they're motivated through this loss going into the postseason.
Yep.
And if Fusion, if they continue to remain as dominant, or if maybe the meta shift changes a little bit. I do think it favors them though, because I mean Fury Zarya is really not nasty. Sato, as long as Sato gets to play Winston. I mean, it's not that Sato's been bad on other tanks this year, but Sato's Winston in particular is really, really good. And that's what everyone's been waiting to see was his Winston. And Hisu Sombra continuing to be a pretty meta character. So Hisu is incredibly good. They're just so stacked all around at every point. And the same goes for Shock. And I'm interested to see how it pushes them to compete and what they develop in playoffs. And if they choose to continue to run like an APAC style meta where they're really focused on the Winston or the Hammond Zarya.
It seems to have been working well for them so far.
It does.
And they were the earliest adopters of the APAC meta.
Yeah. I think that it's more of just maybe they come up with something crazy and they're able to build something. But I find it unlikely, but I would still love to see something absolutely insane come out in terms of your meta. Like, what if maybe Soldier's back? I don't know.
That'd be sweet.
Soldier be cool.
Yeah.
There's no shields anymore. So maybe Soldier, maybe legs. Some honest horizontal legs as opposed to vertical legs, aka Baptiste.
I don't know. Like as much fun as that would be, I still think that Ashe and Widowmaker, I think are just too strong.
Ashe is just insanely strong. Yeah. Ashe is so strong right now.
Just buffed her just enough to just put it over that threshold.
I wasn't huge on Mercy as a support pick initially, but as teams have pioneered the Mercy on a little bit more, and I've seen more of it throughout APAC and NA, I realize now that the power of the Mercy is that it's not that Mercy's really a particularly good support hero.
No.
It's just the fact that it just allows your Ashe to just
one-shot people.
Yeah, just one-shot people repeatedly.
Breakpoint on Ashe, and then, of course, a free res.
When you're searching the Angs,
yeah,
looking for the ISOs.
I mean, they did that with Shockwave. Quite often gave him the second chance. It's like, died. Oh, no, you got to kill him twice, right? So... unless that win percentage.
And now there's no reprieve you can no longer hide behind your shields because it is just there. You have to just dive the Ashe and hope you can get rid of them.
Hope for the best.
Hope you can get rid of the Ashe because otherwise you're falling over. Well, should we look at our mailbag responses for the day?
I do think so. We were asking people last Tuesday, which was I suppose 2 episodes ago now at this point.
That would be last Tuesday.
We were asking with the meta design because the Super had originally leaked or mentioned, commented, whatever, that they were specifically trying to design a meta, not just nerf double shield, but the implication was that they were trying to design a meta for the grand finals themselves. So the question to you, chat, was what you thought, or if you could design, or what would your ideal meta have been?
And we have some responses.
We do.
Do you want to go first or me?
I'll let you go first today.
Okay. Well, I have some good ones from my Discord, as always.
Right.
They're such forward thinkers.
As always, that's
they're such
a lie.
forward thinkers. There is a bastion of the arts and science in my Discord in the Contested Mailbag channel.
All right.
So this one comes from Stracciatella, which is ideal grand finals meta, ? Anything that isn't a mirror. Not the player, but mirror comps. I'm tired of seeing mirror compositions. I definitely want to see Shanghai or Fusion in the finals, so I want to see Funny Astra Lucio and Lip Sombra.
Are we ever going to, isn't it just fundamentally part of the game is going to be mirror compositions?
Well, in an ideal world, no.
I mean, in an ideal world, I have a pony.
The thing is, once again, the pony is far more achievable than you think. Here
Than mirror compositions?
Yeah. You just have to put in the effort to get the pony. You're saying, I need a pony, but, you could probably just go find a pony breeder and find ponies. And
I feel like I would need to have somewhere to put the pony before I purchase
but that's
one.
still, there's a clear chain of events that you can do to get the pony, to achieve pony ownership.
As opposed to with mirror compositions.
As opposed to mirror, where it's out of our hands entirely.
Yeah.
We're sort of just watching it.
I mean, the point is that even if you have these kind of out of all the times, and I think the most circular rock, paper, scissors meta we actually had was during GOATs, where it was Ana, Moira, Zenyatta in a circle. And it was it wasn't compositions, full-on compositions, but when you really get down to having metas kind of refined, that's kind of the only time that we really have a very distinct rock, paper, scissors things. And then at some point, teams would just decide, which one they would want to match on, sort of thing. But even when you do have this cycle, it's always occurred where you can't swap every time. You had it a couple times where people would just stay in spawn. Think Kings Row 3rd, for example. There were lots of times where their support player would go and sit in spawn, and then the two players would just hold tab and switch back and forth. But
I think we'll probably gravitate towards a lot more just Zarya anchor tanks, and then change up your main tank a lot more. But I do think it offers more often than not, the tanks decide the meta, in my opinion, because it changes a lot of how the playstyles work. In terms of if you're just playing Brawl, if you're playing Dive, if you're playing much more static, and all of those, because we have a limited number, we pretty much have 3 distinct styles of play that can be achieved.
Yeah.
And I do think that with the tank meta in flux, we have the most possibility for just far more interesting compositions across the board, and it's probably still going to be in 3 different categories.
Yeah.
You won't ever really break that paradigm, but I don't think you necessarily have to. I think having 3 distinct ways of play.
Yeah, and a lot of those can also just be map dependent, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the most likely situation that you're going to have non-mirror comps is where there's going to be asymmetric maps, thinking 2CP or something like that. Even parts of hybrid, Kings Row, attacker, defender sort of thing. Anytime where you have an asymmetry that can be exploited by one team and not the other, at that point you're not going to have these mirror compositions. But on Koth maps, for example, trying to not have mirror on those, if there's a best composition, there's a best composition. It doesn't really matter what meta that is, what the state of balance is. It's just going to tend towards people finding out what the best composition is. That's not even saying getting towards the experimental side of things, where we're going to be going into the grand finals, new meta, people haven't had time to figure out what it is, right? Somebody's going to find out something that isn't perfect, but it's good enough. And then everybody else, having spent some time trying to find their good enough and having failed, are just going to go and adopt whatever else the person found out was good enough. So there's also just kind of there's probably better answers out there, but really unless you have a divergence in region, you can have, when we have APAC and NA finally meeting after they've played on the patch and their metas have diverged or developed in different ways. At that point, you'll have things be a lot crazier. But even
that's
then,
traditionally how it's worked,
sure. And even then, we've seen these, the Gauntlet, for example, the meta kind of reconverged as both regions kind of tested and found weaknesses and strengths that they didn't know existed previously. So, this kind of let's just have everything be rock, paper, scissors and no mirror comps at all. That's fantasy land.
I know, but that's what they said. They're ideal. They still said it was the ideal. So.
And one day I'll have a pony.
Once again, far more cheap than you think. And there's someone who wants me to read this other one by Rovere in my Discord. So
Yeah.
I'm going to read this first. So I click upon it, and it said, and it flashes a Martha Stewart cow at me.
So, what
You know the cow? You know the Martha Stewart cow?
I do, yes.
So I click on it.
It saddens me that I know that.
It was hidden by a spoiler, and I clicked on it, and then apparently you can embed this as part of the spoiler, and I've been cowed. So I don't enjoy that. But there's an actual comment associated with it, saying that I think there's a big difference between what I want and what will happen. So for what I want, Ryan, Diva, Zarya, Lucio, Ana, McCree, Genji, that's an honest. That's an honest composition. Most fun to watch. But the best meta I can see happening is Winston Sigma, Winston Zarya, or Ball
Winston
Zarya.
Sigma?
Yeah. I can see that.
Out of all the compositions you'd pick.
No, but we've seen Winston Sigma already.
Yeah, but why would you want that one over any other?
Just because it's, a little bit more exciting than Halts and Shield and like having a bunch of. You don't have a lot of shields there because you really only have one shield
I
hero.
don't really find Sigma that interesting to watch, other than like big rock hits.
That's
something.
interesting because I personally enjoy. I think there's a lot of really cool aspects about Sigma. It's just the fact that his kit has been so strong and the synergized so well with the Bristol that I feel like it's dumbed down a bit. But I can agree with that for the most part. I like that. Do you want to give one from our YouTube?
Sure,
community?
we did have one. It was Matthew Warner, if I believe correct. Yeah, it was. Says, I think the ideal meta would be a mix of brawl and dive. As with so much change going on with hero pools and balance changes, I doubt there will be an absolute comp. So for brawl, though, I think everyone would want to see Reinhardt played. Who doesn't love super shattering shields? And with that, I think it would be nice to see a mix of Ryan Sig or Ryan Diva with McCree, Echo, or Sombra as the DPS, and Ana, Lucio rounding out the backline. I agree with that, but honestly, I really hate I don't like watching Sombra being played at high levels.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Really?
I mean, like the mind games about translocators, that's great. And like being in the position to hack singular targets, that's good. But like EMP is just such a
Okay, so you just don't like EMP.
I just don't like EMP. And I think
because I think the majority of the time the neutral.
I'm like,
fight
you remember
is-
when Sombra first came out and then like every single fight was just like EMP shatter or EMP bomb? And there was just like there were some maps where it's like, oh, guess I'll just die because there was pretty much no counterplay to it back then. So
yeah, I would say EMP is boring. There can still be some exciting
any
parts
just
about
massive
like, denying
AoE
it.
ultimate that can't be missed and
But I
has
like
no skill in
watching
its
the flank and
execution.
setting up the single hacks.
Oh yeah, like the mind games, for example, like Doha Dalton, those mind games between like found the translocator and then you just kind of like wait and then you put somebody out of position. The Sombra decloaks to either try and get a hack or kill or ult charge and then pop translocator. Like those mind games.
Those are fun.
Like especially, I mean, working with Surefour loved that stuff, and I gained kind of a new appreciation for the level of mind games with that. Especially like if you have a EMP and you decloak on a Zenyatta with Transcendence. So like
the mind games of
mind games like,
thinking,
am I going to EMP?
Yeah.
And if not, I'm just gonna hack. Yeah. So it's like, that stuff, that's like really high level, the amount of abstractions you can go through and try to figure out what you can do. That stuff's really interesting.
I think
but then
at
it's
a
just like
universal level though,
EMP.
everyone is sort of like so far, it's all about they just want to see dive tanks.
Yeah, I mean
Or Ryan.
yes, I think so.
Dive tanks or Ryan Zarya. I think that's pretty much what everyone's agreement with when we have
I think just because it's also just so surgical. When you have like the double shield, it's like I'm here, I'm slowly taking. It's more of like a battle of resources.
It's funny because Ryan Zarya really, it is surgical, but like it shifted how dive worked a lot. Where like with Ryan Zarya specifically, it's a lot more. But it's like I'm farming nano until I can give bubble to Winston, just go in and then primal with nano.
Ryan Zarya was also a lot more interesting in that you had like this push and pull where you could kind of like go in and try and get as much value for your cooldowns, your resources, but then they were long enough that you had to kind of back off, and it was more about like doing these trades back and forth, getting most value out of those cooldowns. Whereas with double shield, it's more of just like more of a static trade of resources that just has less excitement, just in general. Unless you have a big flank.
I still find it exciting. It's definitely different than just the surgical dive types.
Chad is giving me EMP. How to avoid EMP advice. I appreciate it,
Just
Chad.
stun it.
I'll have to take
Just
notes.
avoid it.
Just avoid it. Just don't be in its LOS.
Just don't get caught by EMP.
I think Brawl might be popular more so in NA, but the dive we could and should see more look similar to what we got with Monkey. I should really edit these for grammar at some point.
We've said this many times.
We have said this many times. With Monkey or Brawl, Zarya with Pharah, Tracer, and Sombra. More Sombra love in the mix with backline of Mercy and Zen. I like Mercy Zen combos. I do. It's low healing, and then you have the Zen ability to frag, and the Mercy's just damage boost, being able to always make sure that one person has the ability to like really pop off.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that it's also very interesting because of the low healing. The Mercy has to choose really heavily who they want to give power to. Do they want to support the Xin or they want to support one of the DPS or the tanks? Like you have to make choices on who you're healing with Mercy Xin.
And then if there's between like when to use Transcendence, especially if you're going to be using it in general to just go aggressive, for example, like drop the Discord, then go into Trance to make sure you have enough healing and all these things, or like cover for your Mercy, show you can res. Like there's a lot of fun counterplay between those two. Maybe I'm just a purist. Go back to the days we only had 4 supports and one was Symmetra.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot Symmetra was a support.
Yeah, it was. The 4 original supports were Lucio, Mercy, Zen, Sim, right?
Lucio, Mercy, Zen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, Mercy, Zen.
And then Ana was the next one added.
Yep, that sounds right. So,
olden times. Any other comments jumping out to you?
We had another long one from like Overwatch 123 on the subreddit.
One of these in the Contested Mailbag channel isn't even an answer. It's just a picture of me with my hair messed up. It's not even a response.
Is you getting angry at Boston?
Yeah.
All right. Like Overwatch 123 says, my perfect meta would be map type dependent. I like this guy already. Or game mode type dependent comps with some instances of teams that play their style more to suit their strengths, like Dragons playing Dive at King's Row, even though it is predominantly known as a Rush Brawl comp favored map. I mean, this is my kind of music. Another example is Nepal Village, where teams usually play Brawl with Sim and Junkrat recently, but at the same time, teams could run like Pharah poke comps to win their way slowly towards the point. I think we are sort of there already, but maybe the experimental patch will make this more frequent throughout the various game modes, or maybe push it too far towards dive rush comps, but we shall see. I would like to add more examples, but I don't want to write an essay for Avast and Jayne to read. This guy gets it. This guy
knows we don't like to read or can read.
Can I use the powers that be to give this man VIP in the channel? The best mailbag, like Overwatch 123.
Like
He's
Overwatch
right there.
123.
I want this man to have a VIP so people can be like, hey, why do you have VIP? I actually did a good mailbag response.
What a simp, not writing an essay.
It's only 3 paragraphs.
What a simp, huh? Someone who, what would be?
No.
I'm trying to think of like what would be like the literary simp.
A literary
because
simp?
it's like you don't want to write an essay. So I have to think about the acronym a little bit more, I guess. I have to think about the acronym. Well, I guess it's time for our what our mailbag is for the next episode.
Did we prepare anything?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh, you did. It is on here.
I did. I don't remember exactly what it is. Can you read it to me?
Yeah. Okay, so it says here, mailbag. The new Titans have now won more games than Boston has during the entire 2020 season.
Okay, and is that...
No, it's not the CTA.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, okay. I was like, that sounds like something I might write, but I don't know if there's a...
No, so the CTA is Zarya Hog Ball meta, something you're excited to watch.
There we go. If the meta for the postseason and the grand finals was Zarya Hog or Zarya Ball, would that be exciting to you? The Chaos Tank meta. Do you think that would be enjoyable to watch? Do you think that would be too much chaos? Do you think there'd be fun, not enough strategy, things like that? That is what we want to know from you if you wanted to give your responses in the Contested Mailbag channel, my Discord, and the YouTube comments when it goes live on Envytv, in the podcast reviews, which still no one I don't think is used just
We
yet.
did pass 10,000 podcast downloads, though.
Wow.
10,000.
That's good. That's pretty good.
I didn't know 10,000 people listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Hello.
I've never heard of it. I mean, this
people?
is the first time I've even heard of a podcast.
True story.
True story. So let us know if that is the meta you would like to watch.
And also, we have no show this Thursday.
Yeah, are we planning on pushing back that show entirely, or are we just doing a special episode? I don't know if we've...
Another super special episode?
Well, not necessarily special, but like, a shorter segment type of thing. I don't know if we've actually technically just...
There's not going to be a regular show on Thursday.
Yes, Thursday, once again, we do not have the studio space.
More Rocket League magicness happens. So if you are enjoying Rocket League, those streams are happening on this channel. As well, the Dallas Fuel is having a co-stream against the Toronto Defiant, which I believe is also doubling as the NVHQ office reveal. So we have shown you've seen the studio, but you haven't seen the full office, and I think that's being revealed on the Toronto Defiant co-stream.
Why would you do this to us twice in a row? I don't schedule who gets the studio.
He's lying to you, chat.
So
Avast is just sick and tired of you.
That's right. I myself am just putting other content in there, but don't worry, we're gonna have a plan. We'll figure it out, and we'll let you guys know on my Twitter, places like that, Discord, things like that. Promise we will. But that has been this episode of Contested. I'm Avast. That is Jayne.
Woo!
And thank you for watching.